There are no swords of survival horror games where your player character has no physical combat abilities. By now, many people would even say that the formula has become a bit overdone. But there's a particular game I want to talk about that I still think is one of the best in that category. Haunted Ground is the story of an 18-year-old girl named Fiona. She was riding in a car with her parents when they were involved in a fatal accident, leaving her as the only survivor. If that wasn't bad enough, she wakes up nearly naked in a cage located within a dungeon-like cellar. She soon learns that she's trapped in Belly Castle and that she's the sole surviving heir. She also discovers that her captor has some, well, let's just say, horrible plans for her. However, it's not long until she finds an unlikely ally, a white German shepherd named Huey. With her wits and his brawn, the two of them work together in order to find a way to escape this hellish castle. This game was originally planned to be an official entry into the Clock Tower series. However, after the underwhelming sales of Clock Tower 3, Haunted Ground was retooled into more of a spiritual successor. You can see that it's pretty much a Clock Tower game in all but name. You play as a girl who finds herself trapped in a dark and mysterious abode, and has terrifying pursuers on her trail who want to kill her. Meanwhile, our heroine has limited means of defending herself, and more often than not has to either hide or flee from her stalkers, or sometimes even find a way to temporarily slow them down. She also has a variety of puzzles to solve in order to escape. While I know that this is Fiona's prison, I can't help but be absolutely enamored with Belly Castle. Each chamber and corridor is beautifully constructed and detailed, making it extremely easy to become immersed in the hauntingly gorgeous setting. There's also plenty of interesting camera angles that give us a good view of the massive scale of every corner of the castle. And it's all without loading screens. I've always loved castles in Capcom games, and this one is definitely one of my favorites. This just might even be my dream home. Well, minus the nightmare stalkers and other creepy aspects, of course. Unfortunately, Fiona can't enjoy the setting as much as we can, because she's too busy trying not to get killed. She has both her stamina and panic levels the player needs to watch out for. When her stamina becomes low, like from being attacked or running for too long, she slows down and is more vulnerable to attacks. Meanwhile, becoming panicked from looking at disturbing imagery and being frightened by enemies makes the screen distorted, and she's harder to control. While both of these things will improve gradually, using herbs can heal her faster, and drinking from sinks you can occasionally find will restore her completely. Other items you can find include magnesium, which will explode upon enemy contact and damage them. However, your main plan of action when being chased is to find a hiding spot as quickly as possible. It's always a good idea to examine your surroundings to find a potential place to hide when things are still safe. You'd think some of them would be less than ideal, such as under a bed, but the stalkers are none the wiser. I guess they're just kind of stupid. However, they will catch on to your hiding spots if you use them more than a few times, so be aware about that. It should also be noted that while the game may tell you the coast is clear, that is not a guarantee that you're safe and sound. All too often they'll be right around the corner, ready to strike again. The only way to know for sure if it's safe to come out is if the ambient music resumes. Fiona's canine companion Huey is more than just a cute face. He can attack enemies at her command, giving her time to run and hide. He'll even give a warning growl if there's a stalker approaching, or if there's a trap ahead, and at times he's essential to solving certain puzzles. He can also be told to fetch items that are out of Fiona's reach. In order to keep Huey in good spirits, Fiona can praise him when he's being a good boy, which can also heal him if he's low on stamina. Feeding him jerky treats is another way to improve his health. All of this is important, because how well he responds to Fiona's commands is dependent on how strong his bond is with her. Note that this was several years before The Last Guardian. His AI is also pretty efficient at responding and following, and while he can get lost sometimes, he'll usually return to Fiona's side soon enough. You'll know he's nearby when you can hear the clicking of his toenails. Huey is a great and unique addition to the game. I feel like he could have easily become more hindrance than help, but being a companion that's not too helpless or dependent on the player makes him very likable. Cutscenes with him and Fiona together are also very sweet, and give a nice pleasant break from the tense moments. Another unique aspect of the game is the alchemy mechanic. Throughout the castle, you can find all sorts of medallions. Crawling through various large holes in the walls will lead you to alchemy rooms where you can refine these medallions into items. In order to do this, you match up spinning colorful orbs on the Sephiroth. Some of these items can be helpful to Fiona or Huey, but there are also some that can be harmful. It's also somewhat random what specific items you'll receive. You won't know in-game which ones are helpful or harmful until you try them. Either that, or you can skip the guesswork and look up a guide. Of course, if you know your alchemy, you might already have an idea as to the effects of the items. As you could probably guess, one of the most important aspects of a horror game is how well it delivers on its horrors. And I can confidently say that Haunted Ground does a great job at haunting. Even during moments where you're safe, the ambient music is quite unsettling. It doesn't help that you'll occasionally hear some unpleasant groaning along with it. When things become quiet, that indicates that there's a stalker nearby, so you better get you and your ass ready to run. Sometimes you won't even get that, and your pursuer just so happens to turn the corner you're about to enter. The intense music that plays when an enemy is chasing you will get your heart racing, and you'll be desperate to find a safe place. Even with so many horror games using this formula, Haunted Ground still manages to effectively deliver a frightening experience. The psychosexual themes within the narrative also contribute to the experience, particularly surrounding sexual femininity. Fiona is an attractive young woman, and at 18 years old is new to adulthood. You could even describe her as ingenue-like. Now, she's found herself in a completely new and scary environment. Meanwhile, her stalkers all covered her sexually for one reason or another, and all attempt to take advantage of her vulnerability in order to get what they desire from her. There's also a specific emphasis on her womanly attributes, which is the main reason as to why her pursuers want to bring harm to her. One could describe this as similar to how people with less than pure intentions would want to take advantage of someone like Fiona. While there are obviously many fantastical elements in the story, it's not hard to find parallels with real-life depictions of carnal emotions, such as lust and sexual jealousy. I absolutely loved playing Haunting Ground. It's aged fantastically, with its visuals, sound, and gameplay still giving an amazing experience. The narrative themes revolving around sexuality and alchemic lore are also very interestingly written. And who could get enough of Huey? Unfortunately, the game didn't do so well in release, because there was a certain other Capcom horror game that took the spotlight that year. I'm glad, though, that more people have come to appreciate the uniqueness that Haunted Ground has to offer. It's just a shame that Capcom seems to have no plans on making the game more accessible to modern players. I would love to see a remastered version, or at least a port that isn't a Japanese exclusive. This one is definitely a must-play for any survival horror fans. Thanks so much for watching! If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click like, and subscribe if you want to see more.